Thank you very much, Marley. So I'm wondering, did you guys know that on average, we each have around 50,000 thoughts every single day? Or that your brain generates enough energy to power a small little bit light bulb, a small LED light, so to speak, whatever you call it in English. But I'm wondering something more serious. I want to ask you a more serious question. That is, during the last 7 days, how many of you have experienced tiredness as an obstacle for studying? Just here, raise your hand. Tiredness as an obstacle? Yeah, we pretty much all have. And that's really natural, and it's also all right to be tired sometimes. But if you are a curious fellow like myself, then you might have had thoughts before like, well, what if I could do more? What if I could have more energy? What if I could maybe learn faster or something like that? We often talk about the fact that we are very time constrained. We have so many things every day that we would like to do, right? If only we had more time. But maybe that's not the right focus that we want to have. Maybe we should focus more on the productivity and the energy levels that we have during the 24 hours. How many of you could agree that it would be really useful to focus on the energy levels and the productivity in ourselves that we use every day in the 24 hours that we actually got? How many can see the point in that? Pretty nice. And that's exactly why I'm about to present to you 3 unorthodox techniques for higher energy levels and increased learning abilities. And I'm a very practical kind of guy, so I like to keep things super tangible, ready to implement in our daily lives. So you can wait for that, but that will come shortly. First, let me take you on a small journey. Go back to the living standards of the people from the Stone Age. This is how we lived 30,000 years ago. And it's actually pretty nice when you think about it. It's a little bit hard to see, but here there's a family cutting up some meat for dinner. Pretty nice. There's some wild animals in the background having a good time. There's also a guy up here talking a little bit about the stars to a young fellow over there. That's also really nice. It's almost like you can smell the grass or hear the sounds of the fireplace. But now look what we've done to our world. This is how the world looks today. And even though the technology is brilliant, even though we have accomplished to put thousands of TV screens into one street, and even though we've received a lot of romantic Snapchats, this technological change is causing some serious damage to our natural health, to our energy levels, and also to our learning abilities. To make sure you understand what I'm trying to say, let me show you a simple graph about 2 different hormones that are operating in our system. The first hormone in the blue color is called cortisol, and that's actually a stress hormone. But for a moment, forget about all the negative things you ever heard about stress, because this hormone actually helps us to naturally produce a lot of energy and also to make us motivated for our daily tasks. The second hormone is called melatonin. And that's the opposite of cortisol. That's a sleep hormone that helps us become naturally tired and ready to sleep at night. As you can see, we produce most cortisol at the beginning of the day and less melatonin at that point. And then when the night comes, then we produce a lot of melatonin and a little bit less cortisol. And so they're kind of like north and south pole, these two. When the one goes up, the other one goes down. And so, in other words, you could also say that when we experience daylight, that's when we produce the cortisol, and when it becomes dark, that's when we produce melatonin. Okay, so why does this make any sense? It makes sense because if we go back around 30,000 years, when did we need energy? We needed energy at daytime when there is enough light to see anything, when there is enough light to go hunt the animals for us to eat, right? And so, when it became dark, we couldn't really do anything productive anyway, so we decided to go to sleep. And that's what we have been programmed to do ever since. But the problem is that the modern society is keeping us away from following this natural rhythm with all the electronic devices and whatnot. What we need to do is we need to find inspiration from the last 30,000 years on how to work with our core physical elements, this being sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Let me now show you the first unorthodox technique for higher energy levels and increased learning abilities. and that is to sleep in a cave. Yeah, you heard me. And of course, I don't mean literally go to a cave in the mountain and sleep there. No, I mean to sleep in a room that is 100% dark. Remember what I just told you about melatonin? That is produced when the darkness comes, when the night comes, when the sun sets. And if we sleep in a completely dark room, we let the melatonin get produced, and then we have the best quality sleep of our entire lives. There was actually an experiment done where scientists took a 30-year-old woman, put her into a completely dark room, and they could actually measure her sleep cycle. They could see how far into the deep sleep stages she went that night. And she went all the way, sleeping in this completely dark room. It was an incredibly restful sleep, and she felt so rested afterwards the next day. She was happy. But then the next night, what they tried to do was that they put her in the exact same 100% dark room, but this time they placed a small red LED light on one of her legs. And they could actually see a huge difference in her sleep quality. She didn't go nearly as deep into the deep sleep stages. She hadn't had the high quality sleep. She didn't feel happy the next day. And so what that means is that it's not only our eyes that needs this darkness in order to have a great sleep. It's our entire body that is automatically absorbing the lights in the room right now. And of all time. We do that all the time. And so what we need to do is we need to sleep in a cave. Because we have so many electronic devices that we need to get out of the room or at least cover with some clothes or something like that. And then we need to invest in some great curtains. Like these, for example. Those keeps out the dark. I promise you, if we turn off the light in here, it will be so dark that you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And that's how dark it needs to be. And I could go on and on why sleep is so important, right? There are so many arguments for that, but to put it a little bit more simply, why sleep is so important for learning abilities and for our energy levels. Imagine you just wrote a brilliant article in a Word document. You've never written such a brilliant article before, maybe 50 pages. And then you forgot to save it afterwards. It just went right outside the door. That's how it is not to sleep well after a long day of productive work. It's pretty much the same. The next unorthodox technique for higher energy levels and increased learning abilities is to go for a morning walk. Remember what I just told you about cortisol? It is produced when we experience daylight. And we naturally follow the rhythm from the graph that I showed you before, but that only happens if we actually expose ourselves to the daylight outside. So what happens is that if we go outside for just 5 to 10 minutes, we start producing cortisol. We start to become more energized. We start to realize that now it's daytime. Our brain really understands that it's daytime now, and that we should have a lot of energy and motivation for the daily challenges that lies ahead. It doesn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes, and that's pretty amazing. And a little bonus also is that if we produce a lot of cortisol in the beginning of the day, which we will if we go outside, then we produce a lot less cortisol when we need to sleep, which is when we need to produce more melatonin and less cortisol. So that's pretty nice bonus to have as well. Before revealing the third and final technique, let's look at this homemade graph. Trust me, I felt like a true scientist when I came up with that. Looking at the bottom left corner, you might be a little bit confused. Why would we ever eat food that is both unhealthy and boring? But imagine there's some candy or potato chips in the room that you don't even like that much, but they were there to eat, so you just grabbed them and ate them. It's a little bit more obvious to figure out something that could be put in the top left box, right? I'm thinking about something like maybe pizza. It's pretty delicious, but not very healthy. Or in the bottom right, maybe something like raw broccoli. Yeah, I know, right? And so that's pretty healthy, but not very interesting to eat. But instead I'm thinking about this. Is it possible to place something in the top right corner? Something that is both healthy and delicious? Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the third and final technique for higher energy levels and increased learning abilities. Way! And that is to drink a green juice. And so we've all heard about tons of different diets, right? All these nutrition experts, all of these scientists coming up with different things we need to eat in order to become healthy and maybe lose 30 pounds in 3 days. But there's something, even though they oftentimes disagree a lot what to eat, there is something that they can all agree on. And that is, and you're probably not going to like the answer, but it is that we should eat more vegetables, right? We could eat more vegetables to be more healthy, have more energy. And so the good news, is that I am about to reveal to you a recipe for a green juice that's both extremely healthy, has a lot of vegetables in it, and it's also really delicious. I promise, at least when your taste buds get used to it. So here we go. What are you going to put in? You're going to put in some celery. You're going to put in some cucumber, an avocado, some spinach, kale, 1 lemon, a green apple, some ginger, and then some ice cubes to make it cold and delicious. That's when the delicious comes in. That's pretty much the only thing up here that is delicious, right? And then, of course, some water in the end, and then all you have to do is just blend it, and it's ready to go. And yeah, I can feel you're a little bit critical about the recipe here, but trust me, it's very delicious. And I can prove that because I haven't actually had anything else for breakfast for the last, since February, I've only been drinking this for breakfast. And actually not only for breakfast. What I do is I drink this every single day until around 12 o'clock. That's the only thing I have until around 12. Maybe I have a standard lunch there with some rye bread or something like that. And then in the afternoon I drink the rest of the juice. So what I actually do is I drink 1.5 liters of this every day. That's a lot. And you don't have to do that. I mean, I'm a complete weirdo who just drinks green juice all the time. And I also bring it sometimes with me to CBS in the canteen, and people are like, "What's that you're drinking?" It's pretty weird. People are with their standard lunch from the canteen, right? But what is also great about this is that even though jokes aside, it really gives us all the right vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants we need. And it also keeps us full in a more comfortable and light way. You know when you just ate a huge meal and you're just being there an hour, you don't even want to move because you're so tired. The body has to process all the food, right? And so that doesn't happen if you drink the green juice. So yeah, drink a green juice. And to sum it all up, to have the mental edge, make sure to sleep in a cave tonight. That's what you're going to do tonight. Cover up all electronic devices. Invest in some curtains as well that can keep out all the lights from outside. You're going to go for a morning walk tomorrow and tell the brain when it's daytime. And then have a green juice. That's the three unorthodox techniques that I love to share with you today. And you don't have to implement all these 3 at the same time. Usually it's best to take 1 or 2 and then just, build a solid habit with those. And then implement maybe another one and another one. So start slowly, that's good. Just to be clear, this is where you can follow me. And please reach out about any project ideas you might have. I'm really ready for that if you have anything. Please contact, at least on LinkedIn we can connect. And also for the Danes or anyone who understands Danish, I also have a podcast called Mindcast, which is about the same things we talked about today. I invite some guests from the business world there. So yeah, thank you very much for listening.